And this says we're live. I'm checking on Facebook Live to see if it is connecting on over, and it
Awesome.
is. So that's fantastic, Nick. I'm so excited.
KiKi, I'm really happy to be here.
I am too. Let me do the official intro for folks so that when they come on, they know what this is all about, and then we're going to jump into it. All right, guys? All right. So welcome to Association Chat. This is your weekly online discussion for the association community where we warm ourselves by the virtual fire with the topics of the day, welcoming thought leaders and trailblazers alike to join up in this online home for the community. I'm the host of Association Chat, KiKi L'Italien, and today you may have started your day by asking the air to turn off your alarm, to turn on your lights, or what the weather was supposed to be for the day. But is this some new trend that you can use so that you can better communicate with your ideal clients, customers, members? That's a little bit about what we're going to be talking about today. What does this mean for communicators or those who need to reach the hearts and minds of customers, clients, and members? So today I'm talking with Nick Brown. He's the co-founder and CEO of Effect. Effect makes content on Alexa easy. What a fabulous tagline. Oh my gosh. Nick, thank you so much for joining us today.
My pleasure, KiKi. Thank you so much for having me here.
Okay, so I have to say, I have to go ahead and give the disclaimer right up front that I use your product. I use Effect. You know this. I'm part of your Facebook group. And I use it to publish Association Chat Flash Briefings. And one of the things that I was taken with at the very beginning was just how relationship driven, how keen your company is to listen to what the customers have to say and to get that feedback. So I want to get into the customer service aspect.
Sure.
But first, let's talk about voice AI. Let's talk about what Effect does, why it's important. So voice AI is hot. Using voice assistants is hot. Talk to me about, what you think about that, how you got Effect started. Tell me what's going on in the industry, why you think this is the place to be right now.
Yeah, from an industry perspective, Amazon Alexa is a fantastic opportunity. There are 40 million Americans Alexa, which is a massive number. And by 2022, Statistica reports that that's going to be 55% of Americans who own an Alexa, which is this massive opportunity. And then by 2020, there's going to be $10 billion worth of sales on Alexa. And that's from CNBC. So there's this huge opportunity, and there's really only a handful of people who are doing the deep research and taking advantage of it. So we got this idea from entrepreneurs like Mark Cuban, who back in January tweeted that, in my honest opinion, Amazon Alexa is the easiest way to grow your business. And Gary Vaynerchuk, who dedicated an entire chapter, an entire conference to the opportunity of what he calls voice first. So we saw that really great business research, market research, backed by some of the best entrepreneurs in the world, were saying that voice is here now, and it's just going to grow over and over again. And that's backed up by Ibis World, which is like the world's leader in market research, that says that each year the industry is going to grow 7%, so $1 billion. And so it's this huge opportunity, and there are very few people taking advantage of it. So it's really a blue ocean, and this awesome opportunity for organizations to connect with clients and raise awareness of their brand, and ultimately start selling products too.
Yeah, it's so, I tell you, your company was such a godsend because I work in SEO and digital strategy, and I'm always checking out different ways to communicate with people. And, I had listened more and more to podcasts and things like that. And I had been working on this blog series that talked about the 5 senses of marketing. And of course, visual is everything. Everybody's focused on the visual. And even now, as we're speaking, I have a screen in front of me. There's this camera. There's a camera over here. There's a screen on my Alexa, which by the way, I'm doing that for everybody listening. I'm not doing that for me. She's on mute right now. I've got another screen over here, another screen over here. So we're screened out, right? We've got visuals everywhere. Haptics drive people crazy because you don't want to get a buzz for every notification for everything that you've got, right? So there's only so much communication you can do. For a while, people were saying text messages were the way to reach people, and they found out that more and more of their audience is shutting that down fast. Like, I don't want that. And so what do we have? We have a lot of people who want meaningful connection. They want value, but they are, I mean, visually just totally overwhelmed. And so, so you've got, but you can listen, right? In those moments. And so so tell me how you use voice AI in your day-to-day, because as the co-founder of Effect, I would imagine that you have some pretty interesting practices.
Definitely. Yeah. Well, going back to your point about how, like, the 5 senses of marketing, it really seems to me like voice is a positive evolution, and yet also like a regression to the past, where we used to just communicate by voice to interact with things, or to hear about the news, or to buy something. It kind of reminds me of going to like your neighborhood butcher and having a conversation about, you know, what you want to buy. And how I use it is really for news. I do flash briefings. For fun, we set up our own podcast called Denver News. So we do a local news briefing every single day. It's just like 1.5 minutes long. And then I get other news from it, like the Daily and NPR. And then I also, this is a really great example of just like the positive nature of Alexa and taking advantage of what they call invocation names, which can all be set up on Effect. I was laying on the couch one day, just very, very tired after work. I knew I needed to go to the gym. And I was like, I'm just going to take a shot in the dark. I said, Alexa, inspire me. And someone had created this really cool interactive skill with all these great quotes from Maya Angelou and Kate Manning, and it's like really inspirational people. And so, like, after 5 minutes of hearing inspirational talk with coming from Alexa and these cool MP3s, I was like off my couch. And I was
like, but this is, I mean, look at that though. What a testament, right?
Yeah. And if I would have just stayed on my couch, I would have kept, you know, scrolling into Instagram abyss, and eventually probably would have taken a nap. And so Alexa has a really positive way to end our social media addiction, which is a little bit larger of a conversation, and make it more like communicating how we used to communicate back in the day.
Well, you know, what's interesting is that my husband and I have taken Alexa, and we've taken our phones out of our bedroom completely. I don't have my phone even in my room with me. But we wake up gradually, by the time we need to wake up, by having our lights that are Hue light bulbs that are connected to Alexa. We program it so that different lights by our beds and then overhead slowly get brighter and brighter, so that we automatically wake up without harsh sound, you know? And it's effective. Like, we haven't overslept. It's been a lot easier to wake up, but it is this desire and this drive to sort of eliminate the noise and to try to bring in that connection that is so meaningful. And voice, to your point, talking about the old days and stuff like that, you know, I was doing this research into podcasts and selling, and how wildly effective it is to sell. And it is unbelievable the ROI you get from advertising through podcasts. And the reason being that person who is either an influencer or a thought leader or something, they're in your ear. This is a private moment, right? Even around other people, they're in your ear, and you're thinking. And it's a totally different relationship than sort of passively watching things appear before you on screen.
Right. Yeah. It's like somebody who's whispering in your ear. And the podcast opportunity is so huge. And, you know, there are podcast shows that are making 7 figures on advertising revenue. It's awesome. And so that's why actually last week we deployed a new feature on our product that allows anybody to put their podcast onto Amazon Alexa and have their own Alexa skill dedicated to just their podcast. And so how it works is you ask Alexa to play your podcast, and it goes and does it. You can search for episodes, you can browse recent episodes, you can pause, you can rewind, and overall, it's just a really, really cool tool. And we're seeing that people are getting a lot of listeners on Alexa.
Hey, I need to play with that. And you were talking about earlier about some of the statistics, but I was looking through some of those too about the content that's out there, and it is such a time for people who have valuable content to explore what this looks like. And whether you call it microcasting, micro podcasts, the Alexa Flash Briefing, that particular type of content, the bite-sized pieces of content that they choose to listen to regularly, you're in their ear. That is such an opportunity. And there's such a so relatively just tiny amount of content that's available. Yeah. I went through and I looked for associations. My market is associations and meetings. Looked for associations. I mean, there is hardly anything out there.
Wow.
And I think about, there's an association for everything. It's in every industry. We have these associations, and yet we don't have that much content out there. And all of those people in those industries are looking for your content, right? And
right.
It's wide open, but it's been so hard until something like Effect. So let me tee that up, because your process, you make this so much easier than what it was in the very beginning for people trying to make a flash briefing. So can you maybe talk a little bit about what that process is?
Yeah, for sure. So this whole idea started last October when my co-founder and I, we were friends. We'd heard about Alexa and we were like, let's get into flash briefings. And we decided to create the Denver News Flash Briefing. I went to try and make it as a non-coder, and it was just completely over my head. There's all this computer science behind it. You have to create a unique RSS feed built in a computer program called JSON, and I had no idea what was going on. And so I talked with Moses McCall, who's my co-founder. He's a former NASA software engineer, and even for him, it was hard to figure out just because of the way Amazon Web Services are built. And we still, though, after many emails back and forth with Amazon and a lot of trial and error and figuring out the code, we're able to get it published. And we said, okay, this was really hard for a NASA software engineer, then it's going to be really hard for someone without any computer science knowledge. Yeah. So let's go ahead and create a tool that allows people to create their own. And so we've boiled it down more and more. At first, we said, hey, you need to go into Amazon Developer and you need to copy this link from our site and paste it into Amazon Developer.
I was there back in that time.
Yeah, KiKi, you're an OG of Effect. We appreciate you. And now we've automated all that. And so you can really get one set up in a matter of about 3 minutes. All you need is the title of your briefing and up to 30 keywords. Those are kind of like hashtags. And then from there, you just write a 1-sentence description, a longer description, and then upload your first piece of content. And if you're thinking about what type of content you should put on your flash briefing, it's relatively straightforward. Just imagine what your customers would like to hear about. So if you're the AARP, maybe talk about retirement benefits or ways that seniors can stay active, or healthy tips for seniors in their diet. And you create these little, like you were saying, KiKi, micro pieces of content that are about 1.5 minutes long. So really you could focus, if you're talking about AARP, on just, 1 week just devoted to healthy snacks that, boost cognitive function for seniors. And that would be an entire week. Each day could be a different snack and the benefits that it gives to your clients. And so you're raising your brand awareness, you're connecting with them on a human level. And it's just we've tried to automate that process and make it as simple as possible.
Oh, and I want to say over here, so Rachel's giving a thumbs up, and Aldo, oh my gosh, he says, so intimidating when I started looking into doing a briefing for my association. Yeah, but you know what? You have to look at Effect seriously. And I will say, I have a resources page that's over on associationchat.com. And if you can't find it, email me or contact me or put it in the comments. We've actually worked something out previous to this for a webinar that I was doing that's still available. You can still take it, by the way. That is actually giving you a little bit of a discount if you sign up and use the code name KiKi when you sign up for Effect. And so Effect, another thing is that you can schedule these out. So say you're doing your week of content and it's all about, you know, the dietary stuff to like support cognitive function. You could just schedule a day where you're recording one right after another, and schedule them out and have them all taken care of through Effect, no problem. And it posts when you need it and want it to post. And I love that ability. I don't always use it. I signed up for it, but I don't always use it, but I need to.
Yes, the scheduling feature is awesome because most listeners listen very early in the morning, you know, 7 a.m., 8 a.m. And when I'm up at 7 or 8, I like to be eating breakfast or journaling. I don't really like to be on my computer. So that's why we created that scheduling tool so that people can schedule posts, and you can record a bunch of content all at one time and then schedule it out. And one question a lot of people have is, does it play all of the episodes that I've recorded? No, it just plays the most recent one, the one that you've scheduled. And so that was an issue a lot of people were running into technologically, and we've resolved that.
Yeah, I absolutely love the ability. That is exactly how I use my Flash briefings. And if I miss it, of course, I have it right at my desk all the time where I can like ask, you know, but I usually do it in the morning, coffee, planning out my day, and I don't want the computer on.
Yep.
Or if I've missed it, or I feel like maybe sometimes there are people who I like their Flash briefings, but they're located on maybe they're located on the Pacific coast, and you know, so it's later when they post. I'll sometimes try to catch up with what they posted later when I'm cooking dinner at night, you know?
Awesome. Yeah. It's a good way to do it.
Yeah.
And thank you so much, Rachel, for your comment and your question.
Yeah. Oh, hey, and thank you for posting the link to the resources page. I'm so glad you got it. Yay. I'm so excited.
Awesome.
All right. So so this is a really awesome resource to check out. If you're on Crowdcast, and I see, Anne, that you're on Crowdcast, if you happen to be over here on Crowdcast, there's a call to action button too, that if you want to register for the Flash Briefing webinar, and that's just where I go through some of the stuff we're talking about. I talk about Effect and also about the really hard way that if you want to go through this painful way to do it, but also dive deeper into it's really more about the content and what some associations are doing with it and that kind of stuff. You can check that out and click on that. And also I have these polls, and you guys, if you're part of this on Crowdcast, why don't you fill out the polls? And they're just asking you about your use of Siri, Cortana, Alexa, or any other voice assistant. Do you listen to Amazon Alexa Flash Briefings? And what kinds of audio content are you creating for your audience right now? And we haven't had a ton of people who have responded to this yet. However, I will say that we've had a vote for podcasts, a vote for webinars, but none for micro podcasts, microcasts, or Flash Briefings, which I think is really interesting because it speaks to the fact that there is this wide open space and opportunity there with people who are choosing to listen to this every single day, right?
Definitely. And I would love to hear more from the Crowdcast audience and the Facebook audience. So if you guys have any questions, just go ahead and type them in the comments and we'll be glad to answer them. And KiKi, you were talking before about customer service, and this is and relationship building, and you know why Effect cares so much about it. Before this, I was actually a teacher. So I was doing a Fulbright fellowship in Columbia, and I taught college students. And then before that, I was a teacher in Mississippi, where I taught 4th, 5th, and 6th graders. And I really learned the power of building positive relationships with people where, you know, we are helping them excel. And we've brought that same ethos to Effect, where we care so much about people. I mean, all business is people. ultimately we're trying to connect with people and change people's hearts and, help them deliver a product that we are, so confident in. And just like all the associations are so confident in their product and know it benefits people's lives. And so, yeah, we put people first at Effect. And that's why our Facebook group is really active, and we aim to be as responsive as possible to any questions that we get. And this is all such new technology, and there are so many questions, and we understand that 100%, and we aim to answer those.
It's just I'm so glad that you segued into that, because that is something that I feel really sets Effect out from most, I would say most, technologies out there. I worked for an app developer that was sort of a client of mine for a while, and we used intercom. And like most, you go to every website and there's intercom, and it's a little thing, can I help you, and the interaction there, and it's fine. However, I thought what you've done with Effect, in encouraging people immediately, if you want to ask questions or anything, Nick and his company, you join the Facebook group and you can ask your questions there. And this is a really good point for anybody who's listening to this right now, who's worried about relationship building, worried about customer service. And you think about, do I want people to bring up bugs or issues or problems in front of everybody else who is also a member or client? And you choose yes. And I love that, because if I'm having an issue, usually I'll look to see if there's a problem. I can go directly to the source, but it is solved like that. And and people talk about different ways. The group asks questions of each other about how to promote their flash briefings and things like that. And so it's not just customer service, it's actually building a relationship. And here I have you on association chat, because like, I feel like I know you,
Yeah,
through
definitely.
the Facebook group. I can't say that about most, like my SEO tools that I use or anything like that. Sure. I can't say that.
Yeah. Well, a lot of, startups are obsessed with scale, but we like to do things that don't scale. We like to really focus on making sure that our core group of customers love us. We rather build something that 100 people love than build something 1 million people like, because we know that ultimately those 100 people are going to love it. They're going to tell their friends about it, and it's going to spread that way. And like I said, the relationships that I formed when I was teaching, and I would carry over now into the relationships I form with having a startup. And we're really focused on resolving issues. And we have that Facebook group set up so people can raise any issues they're having or any suggestions or promote their skill, because we know if someone's having a problem, there's likely somebody else who has the same problem. And if they see, oh, I had that issue, that person resolved it by doing this, they can look back onto that post and see it. And at the same time, we also leave email open as well. So people who don't have Facebook, you can always send us an email at info@effect.org. If that's your preferred method of communication. And I'll get onto Facebook after this and make sure I respond to comments and questions that are there.
Yeah. I mean, Nick, you're absolutely fabulous. Like being able to communicate and actually bring in other people. If it's something beyond what you yourself can answer, you'll bring in other members of the team. And I think that that's brave. I think that have you ever second guessed yourself on doing that?
Sometimes it hurts when people find bugs. Yeah. It really hurts, especially for Moses, our chief technology officer, because he built all this, and it's it's his heart and his soul. And they'll find something that's not working. They'll pull up a server error or something like that. And really, though, it's just a matter of experimenting with the new technology. So it hurts sometimes. I've never second guessed it, though. Yeah. I think it's the right way to communicate and to resolve issues, for sure.
I love that. So part of being CEO is that you have to always be thinking about how is the business going to grow? What is the future for this product or this service I'm providing? And so when you're looking at the way that, I mean, more and more people are talking about, we just had Prime Day, which,
Yes.
you know what I mean? So like,
Yeah.
even more people are going to be using these devices, finding out about Flash Briefings, listening to their podcasts through their voice assistants, and suddenly be thinking about, oh, I should be communicating that way too.
Yes.
How are you preparing for that? Or like, how are you
Yeah.
moving into the future?
We're really, really excited about the growth of voice, and all the statistics that I mentioned before. We're excited for those to happen. We have a pretty clear product roadmap about where we're going next. So we have this podcast tool. We have the Flash Briefing tool. And the podcast tool, we're excited about spreading to more people. We're capping our initial group at 50 because we want to really make sure that we're delivering a quality experience on the podcast Alexa app.
Jump in fast.
hop in, KiKi. We only have a handful of spots left. You know you have one reserved, though. We got you.
You gotta have me in there. No.
And from there, we're building a social share button that's going to allow people to take their Flash briefings and with a link, simply copy the link, paste it onto Facebook, and all of a sudden, people are going to be able to hear your Flash briefing on Facebook. You can also paste it onto Twitter, and so you'll be able to spread the word on Twitter about your content. And then we're also building something called an audiogram that you can post onto Instagram. So it'll be a way.
No! Oh, that's so cool.
Yeah,
so cool.
Yeah, so we're gonna use those social media networks that already exist because they are so powerful to help our customers spread the word about their content and deliver important information to their clients. So they'll have the base on Alexa, and that'll be the heart, and then we'll have the legs and the arms be Facebook and Instagram and Twitter. So that's gonna be really cool product innovation.
That is some amazing product innovation. I cannot wait. Is there like how's that timeline looking on that Instagram or the social sharing?
I can't speak to it too much. It's more on our CTO. Probably in about 3 weeks, we'll have something.
My gosh, you guys, still my heart. Oh my gosh. I'm like in love with this idea. Okay. That's brilliant. That's great. Yeah. Because one of the biggest problems, you guys may not know this, especially those of you who filled out the polls, it looks like you're not creating these Flash briefings yet. There's only one of you who filled out the polls that says that you are listening to the Flash briefings right now. One of the things that's really hard, not just for Flash briefings, also for podcasts, is figuring out a way where you can share them in a meaningful way that's effective in bringing people over. So like a lot of times you'll notice, like you may be able to subscribe to a podcast through all kinds of things, Stitcher, iTunes, all this other, Google. But as far as sharing like a little bit and, of your content or part of your Flash briefing, especially, like everybody's always asking this question, how do you get people there? There's a skill page that you can go to on Amazon that doesn't do much, right? That doesn't say much or doesn't inspire you, right? Or compel you to listen. And what you're suggesting, Nick, is that there would be a way to compel people to find the value in what you're producing there.
100% using existing social networks to deliver your content that is on Alexa, and also now it's going to be in the future on Facebook and Twitter and Instagram. And from there, as more people adopt Alexa, it's going to be a really significant source of revenue for companies. And much like Instagram was in 2010 and Twitter was back in 2008, if you get into these technologies early, and if you're a pioneer or an early adopter, and you build a really solid audience, then you're going to reap the benefits of it long term when it hits critical mass and people start buying products through Alexa. So imagine this. You have been working on your Flash briefing for a year, 2 years. We're going to think long term. And you've been building your audience, and you have tens of thousands of listeners now as the technology takes off and as you've gotten better at content and spread the word using the social share tool, then you're going to be able to say something along the lines of, and if you want to hear about all of these tips that we've been giving you in the AARP flash briefing, then say, Alexa, buy me a ticket to the AARP conference, or Alexa, join AARP. And just like that, boom, you will be a member, and your customers will have joined your association.
So I want you guys to think about that. I want you to think about, because exactly what you're saying right now, I don't know if you of course you probably saw this, but the other day it was announced that Amazon was looking at ways to help people fundraise using Amazon Alexa, and in a way where nonprofits were able to work with them so that people could donate through voice, right? Using these voice assistant devices. So it's only going to go more and more in that direction. You buy products right now through your Amazon device, absolutely. And so if you're thinking to yourself, would I like to sell registration to my meeting? Would I like to sell this kit for my industry that has to do with everything that that person needs to know as somebody entering the industry? Would I like to sell, a membership? All of these things. Why aren't they available right now? Why didn't you have this available right now? And why aren't you in your members' ears every day building that relationship? And so it seems like a given, like an obvious thing, but because it's such a new technology, it's those who have it and are using it understand, right? They see it. It's just a matter of it infiltrating, so that I shouldn't say infiltrating. It's a matter of more people using it so that they understand what that communication looks like and why it's so valuable.
Yeah, it's definitely a fantastic opportunity. And just being totally transparent, there is a cost to use the premium features on Effect, which are the scheduling of the flash briefings, and also the podcast tool, and adding multiple users. But that we do have a complimentary version where you can create your own flash briefing and publish content there.
Yeah.
And it works. We've just poured our heart and soul into this product, and it's been a lot of work since October, and that's why we are charging a certain price for it. But that's because we believe 100% in the product and know that it benefits people's business, especially now, and even more so in the future.
Yeah, and I want to mention. Okay, so Rachel commented over here. And then I'll bring it together. Nick, I think I could talk to you like for an entire hour, just you about this. It's so interesting. Rachel says, one of the issues with micro content and podcasts is that there's so much to take in. Categories help people like me determine whether that piece is relevant to me. I found old stuff I can use now, small bits, because proper keywords and categories and SEO was used. Absolutely. Great. It's so true. And
yes.
So actually, Nick, that's a really good question. A lot of times you're probably put, and I've seen it happen on the Facebook group, in the role of educator. You guys just released a video that walks people through step by step. It's super intuitive anyway to put out your first flash briefing, but they have just retooled their videos so that it includes a lot of the new, like the easier features and stuff like that. But in the role as educator for folks, are you looking at producing more content like guidance? You were talking about 1.5 minutes is a sweet spot, publishing at 7 to 8 a.m. when people would be waking up 7 to 8 a.m. They're listening, keeping that in mind.
Yes.
So talk to me about your content for that kind of thing. Are you planning on producing that? Or?
Oh, 100%. Yeah, we want to be a content machine eventually and keep churning this out. And like I said before, I was a teacher, so education is in my nature, and we like to think about what's the objective, and the objective is for our customers to be able to raise awareness of their brand through Alexa, and also to sell their products. And so everything, we're kind of backwards planning from that. And so, like you said, putting out information about the optimal time, the optimal content, how to formulate a content strategy is definitely something we have in the pipeline, and we're looking to put out more articles on Medium and more information in the Facebook group as well. So we will keep delivering that content because we know it benefits our customers.
I love that. Oh my gosh. Thank you so much for talking
Yeah,
with
you
me
got it.
today. You guys, I hope you found this extremely helpful. And if this doesn't inspire you for how you can communicate to your members and really reach people and make a difference, then I think you should listen to it again, because there's a lot there. There's a lot there. There's a lot you can do. And so, Nick, thank you so much for taking the time
Thank you so
and
much, KiKi.
talking with us. And I hope you've learned something. I hope you join
I
us
have.
again. Oh, you've learned something.
I've learned a ton. Yeah. I liked Rachel's idea of doing past social media posts and repurposing that content. It's brilliant. It's totally brilliant. And I want to thank everybody who tuned in. This is a young technology. It's an emerging technology. And the fact that you are here shows that you are on the right track. You're obviously a hard worker. You've done the research and know that it's going to be effective for your business down the road. And I'll follow up with a link to Effect in the Facebook group and in the Crowdcast. And thank you all so much for joining us. And we invite you to join us and be a pioneer in voice first.
I love it. Voice first. Until next time, everyone, keep asking questions to learn every day. As Joseph Campbell once said, the cave you fear to enter holds the treasure you seek. Have a great week, everyone.